like break the meta, but it's definitely like a whole lot of fun to play. And if you feel like playing it, and if you feel like, every once in a while running into a matchup where you're like, well, I'm fucked,
Yeah.
that's fine,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I imagine it was probably pretty entertaining for you, like, looking at the discourse in my Discord every now and then of everybody being like, "Super heavies everywhere," and it's just like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was like, the thing is, most people were on super heavies for their output
Yeah.
and not for the Stormlord's datasheet rule. So I was like, I'm safe.
Yeah.
No one is talking about this. And if you're planning for super heavies, you're not really planning for me. So this is fine.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
to be, like the way it was kind of going also like inside Team Canada, I was pretty much sure that like everyone was planning for the best they could to have like strong armies so they could play games, but no one was really like,
Yeah.
everyone knew you had to play into orcs and you had to play into some version of demons and probably Emperor's Children, and everything else was up in the air. So
Yeah. So having something that was just so out of left field was definitely going to surprise a lot of people.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And like no one was going to get any reps into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is this the list? Because I remember when we were talking a bit about the hammer designation recon, is this the list that you were hopping over to at the time?
Yes,
Nice.
100%. It was. I was like, I can play like the hammer designation, and I was like, or it was
It's
like a mix.
fine.
It was
Yeah.
mechanized designation. It was hammer designation. It was like they were gonna put me on recon to just kind of like blunt a bunch,
Yeah.
and then I got put back onto priority. So I was like, sweet, I get to play Bridgehead, nice. Um, but basically what it was is in like 11th, what I found was the first thing you have to be able to do is stop someone like full sending into you.
Yeah.
And that was like the biggest thing was every time, like anytime I full send into someone, I would lose 20-0. Like, and then anytime someone would full send into me, they would win 20-0. So it's like I've misunderstood something. There's something I'm not getting.
Yeah.
So, like a lot of our team was on, like Francois was on the Blood Crushers, the Blood Legion, and that was a good one because it was just like you have to be able to stop this because it will just run over anybody. So if you can stop it, then you're
Then we get to play.
probably
Yeah.
we've got something, right? Like,
Yeah.
and we had one of our T-Suns mains like testing Sandstorm, so like the double defiler 12 robots
Mhm.
before the patch. And it was the same thing. I was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna can play mildly into this sometimes, then I probably have a list because those seem like completely broken
Yeah.
between the two of them.
Yeah, I also
So
remember I watched your game on Vesla against Grey Knights or
great
whatever, and I
nights.
watched
Yeah,
you
yeah,
go
yeah.
and just bounced and then just died. I was like,
Died. Yeah, I was like, okay, well,
yeah.
it's like the guy was like, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's okay. I'm limit testing, baby. I just want to. I don't mind losing games. That's the whole point of thing. Is a lot of a lot of what you do in the first sets of is kind of just like run an army into something and see what happens.
Absolutely. I've been telling people for a long time that one of my major like practice things is if I don't know what the correct answer is or don't feel like I know, I'm gonna pick the more aggressive option just so I can, get more data off of it. It means that I can
Yeah,
see what happens. Because if I never take the line even in practice, I'm never gonna know when I need to be able to do that. So
yeah, 100%.
yeah.
Very early on, it was kind of like I was put down as you're going to be first defending, so
Oh.
you're going to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Fair.
like, yeah, because so it's like you have to be able to play into basically everything,
Yeah.
but you have map pick. So and you're on priority, which works really well. One of the reasons I chose this is because it works really well with priority because in you can pick the maps, put the Stormlord in a relatively safe spot,
Yeah.
and then the 6-inch bubble normally covers an Overwatch on an objective that you have to action.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then that's kind of like where it comes from is like one being able to play into priority, and because before the balanced data slate, like a whole bunch of people were playing purge because a lot of the good armies on good detachments were purge,
Mhm.
and I had a really good matchup into purge priority on a few maps, it's like I literally don't need to leave like 4 inches out my deployment zone, this little box,
Yeah,
and I will score max primary, right? So it's
yeah.
like I just sit there and go,
Can you deal
whatever.
with this? Yeah.
Yeah,
You have your
most
own
times,
stat
okay.
check. All
Do,
right.
do, do, do.
Well, let's officially go ahead and get started then. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of, oh, what do I call these? I think I call them tactical reviews. I'm here with John Winter Russell, fresh off of his most recent WTC, where he was the #1 guard player. John, welcome back to another one of these. It's good to have you on the channel once again. How was your time at WTC?
Thank you. It was a blast.
Yeah.
Appreciate being invited back, and I had a great tournament. Honestly, I was when 11th edition came out, and I started playing, let's say, basically 10th edition lists in the same type of 10th edition tempo style, and I was like, oh, this
It
doesn't work
doesn't work.
anymore at all.
Yeah.
I was a little nervous for a little while, and then I started figuring out how the game worked, and it got better and better. And when we finally found this list and this iteration, and then I got an enhancement and an extra unit after the balanced data slate, I was like, I'm primed. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
I did not have on my bingo card scoring more differential this year than last year because I felt way more comfortable last year than this year. So
Yeah.
gravy.
I mean, it definitely feels like you figured something out. But one of the things I want to go into before we talk too much about the list is I feel like the guard community in general, and I will lump myself in here with this, feels that guard has been struggling quite a bit. But I think you're the one top player who is still very into guard. And I'm curious what you feel the difference is, something that you see that the rest of us are not.
Well, this list helped. List
Fair.
helped a lot. Um, I think also teams helped a lot because didn't have to worry about. I didn't really have to worry about something that was going to play on every map. And I always had like one veto of something I didn't want to play.
Yeah.
Which was very nice because then you can go because basically I had play into all the top armies, which was really nice, and then I could veto something like that I didn't really that was kind of more swingy
Yeah,
in
for sure.
attendance. Um, so I think people in general are just getting caught up on playing. They want to play their certain style of guard, right?
Yeah.
And if you get hung up on that, then you're probably not going to be happy. And I was like, I like playing Scions in boxes. My I just got a bigger box.
Yeah,
That's it,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, I can definitely feel that the tempo, as you mentioned, between 10th and 11th has changed so much. And it took me, probably a good 10 to 15 games before I realized, oh, I just going to go stand on their natural, not a real thing, not nowhere near as often. And so trying to
Nope.
switch that up has been a really big change. And so trying to find something that works for you has been pretty big. I know I generally see your name pop up way more when there are big teams events going on or on the WTC season. What are your plans for the next several months with, WTC immediately behind us?
Uh, right now, little break. Because leading up to WTC with the edition change was
A lot.
busy, and I also have a job and a lovely girlfriend,
Mhm.
and all of those things I would like to spend more time organizing.
Yeah.
Um, so a little pause. I think I'll probably try and do an event maybe in like late summer, early fall, but
Mhm.
we'll have to see where kind of everything falls. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to WCW yet. I won at my last event of 10th, I won my golden ticket,
Yeah.
so I can go if I want.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I had so much fun with this list at WTC that I honestly could ride a high for like 8 weeks easy.
Well, that's awesome. Well, with that, let's go ahead and start talking about the list a little bit because it was definitely Not something that I think the community was ready for. I heard a lot of people calling it the puzzle box throughout the
It
course of the
is. It
weekend.
is the puzzle box. That is what we have named it. Anytime I would, there is always a kind of a semi go turn with the list, and when the go turn happens, I would turn to Riley, our captain, and I have deployed the puzzle box.
That's great. Well, let's go ahead and talk about what is the puzzle box? What are all the tools that go into it?
All right, so the main point of the puzzle box is the interaction between the Stormlord and Yarrick's counter strategist rule.
Mhm.
So the Stormlord at the end of your opponent's movement phase gets to, if it's empty, gets to pick something up. So one of the things that I was having trouble with in 11th was getting rushed down and tagged because engagement range is huge.
Mhm.
So what I needed to do was be able basically make like a buffer space so that I could always activate. Um, and I kept getting kind of like Overwatch to death when I was like covering that space with trash. So I was like, okay, so Overwatch is more powerful end of movement phase because you become the active player, way more powerful rules.
Mhm.
So then like going, okay, Stormlord's ability is end of movement phase, Overwatch's end of movement phase, Yarrick's ability is end of movement phase. Like this is all this, and if you can sequence them, it just makes it so that you can have kind of like you can have this no-go zone
Mhm.
unless you want to try and break the puzzle box. Because if you try and break the puzzle box, you can just literally step on 20 rakes all at once.
Yeah.
Um, So, um, so I'll get into some of how the rakes get stepped on, or not stepping on the rakes is also bad because then you just don't go where you need to go because
Yeah.
it's covered. So the idea is the Stormlord has a transport capacity of 40, so it holds both Scion squads with the
Mhm.
Ogryn Bodyguards and the attached characters.
Mhm.
Um, And so basically that is your don't rush me button because 30 scions with two Ogryn bodyguards and Yarrick all with +1 to hit, +1 to wound, one of them with full rerolls to hit, coming out of a Stormlord who also has 35 damage, 2 shots, and 4 las cannons, will pick up an army if it's put in front of it.
Yeah, for sure.
So that kind of like that was the deterrent point, and then it was setting up a section where you just kind of like play a slow game, and you get to let your opponent decide whether they want to try and score diff on you or not. And if
Yeah.
they don't, then normally you win. Like I think I had 2 games where I scored like 12 or 13 points, and that was kind of it. Where my opponent was like, "We're going to play a normal game. I'm not going to try and rush you down. We'll just trade in the mid board." And I'll be like, "Cool. I went second.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna push into you. I will just by the end of the game, I'll have stuff because I don't need to trade very much. I don't need to trade any of my damage to do damage, which is the other thing.
Yeah.
Because Yarrick squad comes out, if you undercommit into it, you might just get whatever you put out gets overwatched to death. Like because that squad will just I in the tournament against Poland, I picked up 5 infractors and the Lord in Overwatch.
Yeah, that that doesn't sound that surprising to me. I've definitely done very similar things in the past. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that interaction just a little bit more.
Yep.
So obviously, it's keying off of the fact that everything happens at the end of the movement phase: a Stormlord ability,
Yeah.
counter strategist, and Overwatch. So one of the questions that I have seen come up, and I've gotten slightly different answers from different people. Can the Yarrick squad, or was WTC playing where the Yarrick squad could both Overwatch and do the counter strategist shooting in the same turn?
No, no,
Okay. Um,
but you don't need to because you want to set up basically like the Yarrick shoot is good and you warn your opponent about it, but it's not the most devastating of the 3 abilities. It's the declare the charge that is the
yes.
most disgusting of all of that. So often what would happen is there would be 5 engineers sitting right next to Yarrick,
Mhm.
hidden. If I can organize go to ground, it's go to ground, but normally it's more in the open or just touching terrain. They do the action because it's in the middle and it's priority.
Mhm.
And then Yarrick covers them with an Overwatch. And then
Mm.
they also get covered with Yarrick's bubble.
Yeah.
So you if you break the bubble, the engineers charge you.
Yeah.
But you get overwatched with Yarrick's squad first. And then the advantage to that is then you can hit the bridgehead on my position button
Mhm.
and blow yourself out of combat, and they get stuck.
Yeah.
So you can't get basically you can't pile on charges because you can't overrun, because if you blow yourself out of combat, they only get the overrun move. They don't get the pile in first and then the overrun. So you basically set up you have to shoot these off, and you kind of have to set it up in a way where you have to get close enough that you're probably going to lose them next turn because Yarrick will come back out, shoot them off. I'll put 5 more engineers and we play the game again.
Yeah.
And then starting on turn 2, then I threaten rapid ingresses with either the TEP 5+5 or the Aquilons, which also makes it very difficult to then take the space, because if you put them in a space where I might overwatch before I ingress, then I could clear a screen, double up on primary, and then use them to do the action and set up the whole puzzle box again.
Yeah. So just for, people who are watching who aren't necessarily following, the whole thing is you have the Stormlord here. Yarrick is standing probably in front of it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it basically it's wholly within 6, so you try and set up a space where I had all my tables mapped out, that
Mhm.
there are in every disposition, there's at least one table where the Stormlord is either hidden or the only line to shoot it is one small line
Yeah.
that you can either put models on so that they can't get within engagement range, or I picked matchups where their shooting wasn't enough to threaten the Stormlord, and
Yeah.
then he would be out in the open because it didn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the Stormlord at the end of the turn, Stormlord here, Yarrick in front, and then in front of Yarrick is generally going to be that unit of engineers. So there's this layered defense. And then
Yes.
you would be able to use the Overwatch if you wanted it to, use the counter surges to make the engineers charge, and then at the end of it, Yarrick would hop back into the Stormlord.
You can use all of it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Now, this all makes a lot of sense to me. It's a lot of like layered, can you deal with this? The one thing that's kind of interesting to me is the Commissar Graves unit, because obviously it does all this cool stuff Scions normally do, right? You hop out, you get the +1 to hit and wound from Mechanized and
Mhm.
Bridgehead. You still do a ton of damage. However, my question is, what is Commissar Graves doing in this list, and how does she contribute to the game plan?
So, two things. One is I've found one of the big things in 11th is just making sure you can unbattle shock yourself.
Hmm.
Very important. So her being there, I was like, between her and a normal commissar, it's only like 30 points, I think.
Hmm.
So you get the unbattle shock ability, but one of the ways to get around the mechanized strat, because then we'll go into, because you need mechanized and bridgehead to get all these puzzles.
Hmm.
One of the mechanized strats is if you declare a unit and you have embarkation space, you can embark.
Yeah.
But one of the ways you get around that is you charge the transport and pile in.
Mm-hmm.
So what Graves does is it means that they're never ever going to shut down both units, because Yarrick's unit can always get in the transport, and Graves' unit, even if you are able to, you know, sometimes you roll 12-inch charges. You can't
Yeah.
you can't stop people from rolling 12-inch charges. But what you can do is like put them in a position where it's kind of like they're around the back of the Stormlord,
Hmm.
ready to come out or ready to go. Or And then if they do roll a 12-inch charge and manage to touch, because it's 2-inch engagement range and they get to touch, then, you get to try and punch your way out of combat with Graves and either Nork or Bodyguard.
Hmm.
I kind of flipped between which ones went where. I found more Nork going with Yarrick because they were out front and he shoots better than
Yeah.
by one ballistic skill. But often in my practice games, I was putting Nork with Graves because they were sent out sometimes. Um, if we were playing like a more of a back and forth and they weren't full sending, then at some point they would be sent out as well.
Yeah.
There is also the you intertwine because there is a push moment when they like push into you, then the Stormlord comes out, sits on the center objective where you need to do an action and does the action because it's
Yep.
Titanic and still gets to shoot. And you interweave Yarrick and Graves so that if they do pop the bubble, Graves unit charges and then you blow yourself out of combat
Mm-hmm.
and then spend 1 CP at the end of their fight phase and get back in the Stormlord. So now your Stormlord's full again and goes out and goes again.
Yeah. That's a very, very cool, like, layers and layers to this puzzle. I'm really
Yeah,
interested in why a lot of people, yeah.
my team joked that I was going to play 7 games at WTC and make no friends.
That's not true. That's not true. You guys are all too nice. All right, going through the rest of the list real quick. So I see an Enginseer. Makes a lot of sense. You got a
Yeah,
400-point unit. Yep.
Yep, you got to keep them. Like the loss condition for this list is you lose the Stormlord before you score enough points.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
is the loss condition. 100%.
You have Death Core of Krieg. I imagine this is fairly multifunctional. You can do a lot of things with it, right?
Yeah, originally it was a Cadian recon squad,
Mm-hmm.
but I found that because I put Bombast on Graves's unit, I had enough orders going enough places that I didn't need the comms relay on the recon squad, and I
Yeah,
found that I didn't really need infiltrate because if you're going to rush me, I'm like, fine.
cool. Yeah,
Like this is kind of what I will just drop all the Scions out and they will clear everything and I'll get back in the boat and I'll be like,
yeah.
well, we can do this next turn if you'd like. Um, but what they do is they interact because they give you options for the fire on my position because they res models. So
Yeah.
what you do is you put the 2 models basically on your expansion, 2 or 3 models with go to ground hidden, and then you string back as far as you can. So if they roll a small charge and hit it, you can blow out of combat. They don't have enough space to pile in. You don't lose a unit, they lose a unit. You lose your 4-point expansion, but on half the missions you score for the center and I'll wrap it on the center and
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
So it's like you losing your expansion, especially on a lot of prio missions, is not the end of the world because normally you have a higher scoring ceiling
Yes.
than other people. So you just early game, you're like, I will trade you 6 Von Ryan Leapers for 4 guardsmen and not a unit.
Yeah.
Sold, right?
Yeah, it
Like
makes sense to me.
so that's why the death core went in there was the head pack was basically the ability to res. Yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely said to a lot of people over the past several months, like, if you're just going to take 10 guardsmen right now, it should probably be a unit of Krieg unless you really value the sticky. Then,
Yeah.
yeah.
And at this present moment, I haven't
It's
seen
not
Sticky
super
do
hot.
anything.
It's not great. All right, Chimera. I'm curious what goes inside this guy.
So it's either there's the 2 engineer squads. There's always the 1 engineer squad that is the turn 1 action because
Mm,
Prio always has 1 action. Normally it's in the middle unless you're taking hold, and then taking hold it's on your expansion. So you literally like have to leave your it's like 1 inch
yep.
outside of your deployment zone. You're like 10 points. Let's roll.
Yeah.
Um, um, so normally the Chimera is either 1 engineer squad to scout the Chimera if, depending on the deployment,
Hmm.
if I need to get it into a position where it's safe, or it was just 5 engineers, the Krieg Flamers, and it's the mini puzzle box because you get to set up the Krieg Flamers that come out of it, get +1 to wound,
Hmm.
shoot something, and then if you shoot them, they shoot on death, and if you charge them, they get back in the Chimera.
Yeah. Nice.
And so it's another layer of making your opponent kind of like, do you have the right tools to deal with this? Because there are many times during WTC where people are like, they have to shoot back at the thing that shot them, right? I'm like, nope.
Nope.
So on a lot of, especially on like the disruption matchup on Search and Destroy, there's the little tiny middle ruin that's
Mhm.
just like the two dense blocks. So you can set up the flamers on one side and Yarrick on the other, and you cover the whole objective with like relatively disgusting Overwatch.
Mhm. Just
And
go.
you have your engineers hidden, and you go your puzzle.
Yes.
Time's on you.
I love it. Next one is the single armored sentinel. I know this has become a bit more popular among people for a little while, but I usually see them in pairs, usually not the one.
He is annoying as fuck. That is the only reason he is there. Yeah, he's just like he is 65 points for a 2-up save and toughness
Mm,
8. And half my games he survived an extra turn, which in guard right now we're a little tight on points, especially when you start getting to the last of things. So
mhm.
having like say a screen that survives just walks over the things that tried to punch him to death, holds the screen, you kill that, and you get to hold a screen for another turn, more than worth the 65 points.
Yeah.
There is an argument that he can be a scout sentinel if you need reroll ones, but like all the damage stuff, like the Stormlord was great, and like, but I didn't count a whole lot on his damage.
Mhm.
He was more like, if I can get like 6, you know, if I can give like 5 damage to like weapons through for like maybe like I don't know 6 to 12 damage or 10
Mhm.
damage or whatever, then I'm real happy. Like if a las cannon goes through, I'm fucking ecstatic.
Yeah.
But the big damage is the Scion bricks, and they are ballistic skill 2 +1 to hit and 1 CP if you're on an objective full rerolls. And so I didn't really need the reroll ones.
Yeah.
Um, there's definitely arguments for, but like the Armor Sentinel, I think 2 games out of 7 he lived on 1 or 2 wounds after either being shot or, and then someone's just exposed something and you get to go cool, and then the
Yeah.
10 scions drop down, kill that, and be like, okay, your
Nice.
turn. Yeah, great.
Try again. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I love
because also
the whole thing here with the army of it definitely feels like, here's the thing. Did you solve it? Nope. All right,
no,
try
all
again.
right. Oh, yep. Just put it all back together because it was basically that, right?
Yeah.
It's like I have 4 things to do at the end of your movement phase, so let me know when it gets to my second movement phase, and I will do things, and then you just like and then you just make sure you get the timing right to make sure that your opponent understands. Like
Yeah.
you have to declare what you're doing and what the target of what the initial target of it, but not what the target is doing
Yeah.
or what the target of that is, right? So you can declare, you can, because this you target the Stormlord for his ability, you don't actually have to declare who's he's targeting until after you see the board state of your Overwatch.
Oh, interesting.
So
Yeah.
so basically I declare, for example, like no one popped, uh, no one broke Yarrick's bubble, and they've set up to say like shoot engineers.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to declare Overwatch, then Ingress, then the Stormlord ability.
Yeah.
And there was definitely one game where they brought something out, they exposed just to kill the engineers at long range for an Overwatch, and I just rolled 3 6s on my plasma and just smoked it. And then picked up Graves' unit that was behind it and
Yeah.
left Yarrick there and spawned on an objective.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, it is important here, because the way that WTC does sequencing for anybody who is not used to it is, I like the way they do it, but it's not a universal standard, especially if you're playing in the United States. Is it still true, I believe in 11th edition, that WTC you have to declare everything you're doing? So like your opponent will declare all of their end of movement phase, and then you declare all of yours, and then you go through all the steps. Is that still how it works?
No. So they're active. They have to declare all theirs,
Yeah.
resolve theirs, and then I declare all of
Ah,
mine. So you
okay.
have
Yeah.
full information.
Yeah. I do know, just for other people, if you're curious and like, hey, we don't play like that. it's still all of this still works regardless of exactly how you have to declare
Yeah.
and then resolve. It will all still work no matter what. You just might declare it at different steps. You might not have to commit yourself to using the Stormlord's ability depending on where you're
Yeah.
playing. So,
So like 2 days before, like normally the team arrives because some of the team plays War Masters, some of them don't, and you want to get over jet lag before playing. So
mhm,
normally we all arrive like 2, 3 days before the event starts. And as soon as basically the minute I walked into the hall, I went and found a judge and I was like, I need you to tell me that exactly how you want me to play this to make
yeah,
sure that I am playing it absolutely clearly. And like
yes,
it's there's a whole lot of onus on you to make sure that your opponent understands all the interactions and like continuously, but
yeah,
also that is a benefit to you because in our Portugal round, I played Alexi. He was great,
mhm,
but there was a moment where the puzzle boxes deployed, and that meant that it was the disruption matchup. So all of the all of the tokens were away. So you have your final objective that's worth basically 8 points a turn,
mhm,
and the Stormlord came out from his hidey hole, and Yarrick and Graves and 10 Scions all wrapped the Stormlord on that piece of
mhm.
terrain, and I went clock to you. And he had that was round, I think that was battle round 3.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that was my I think I went second. I know I went second because I went second in every game I played. Um, I think that was my battle round 3, and I think he had 50 minutes left on the clock, and he didn't move a model until he had 21 minutes or
Wow.
22 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah,
Because every time he would ask a question, I'd be like, he's like, okay, I'm going to move James R here. It's like, okay, then I can charge you with these Scions,
mhm,
or I can shoot you.
yeah,
It's like, and then he's like, okay, I can declare this. Okay, then those can go back in the Stormlord, and then you have to redeclare it. But remember, the unit that next to them could be disappeared because I haven't picked anything up with Yarrick's ability,
yeah.
or I can, or I can pick something up with the Stormlord ability. I can pick up Graves and I can reactive move Yarrick's back in, and then when you declare the Scions, I won't be able to do anything, but my two big units will be gone. Or
Yeah.
I can leave Graves out and then put them back in. Right? You just get
Yeah.
like permutations of you show me board state, I get all the information, and then I get to decide what's going on.
Yeah. Now I
And
have to go
you
ahead.
can't proc he was playing Eldar, so he can't proc Yarrick's bubble because I can shoot the ignore Overwatch unit if he procs Yarrick's bubble.
Yeah. Now I have to ask, obviously this sounds like the puzzle box is, I've seen other similar armies, like let's say the triple Venatari plus the bikes, where you're just like, I'm going to quadruple rapid ingress you on the bottom of 3, and what are you going to do about it? It's one of
Yep.
those lists where the first time you play against it, you just lose because you don't fully understand what's going on. How much of that was going on, do you feel like in your games where you only need to trick them once and then you win, but how confident would you be if you were to play against these guys a second or a third time that they would still not necessarily be able to figure out the puzzle box?
You can ask my teammates. They did not want to play me ever.
Fair.
It's like the breaking the puzzle box was kind of like is like you is it's like anything. You have to decide a moment to full send into it because it will just be efficient. It just trades efficiently, right? I trade whatever you want to kill 5 engineers with, you lose. And
Yeah.
if you don't take table space, then I'll put the Stormlord, and you can't kill it at range, then I will put it in the most annoying place possible and say, if you want to try and you're not charging me, um, and then you have to kind of like the game I lost was against Custodes, and it was just like he held all his rapid ingresses until he cleared enough screens, and even then he had to hit a 7 and an 8 inch charge and
Oh.
killed the Stormlord to the almost to the wound by I think like 1 or 2 wounds.
Yeah.
And I left a Custody bike on 1. So if that Custody bike on 1 had died, then the Stormlord doesn't die and he goes away. Like,
Yeah.
he played it really, really well, and he played it understanding kind of like how you do it, but you still have to, he still had to gamble basically on an 8 inch charge. And if he
Absolutely.
misses that 8 inch charge,
The
the
game
game's
is
over.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's super cool. Now let's talk a little bit about you. Obviously, as an early defender in a lot of these rounds, you have right of refusal. So, what were the kinds of armies that you were trying to not play against this with this list?
So basically anything that had a disposition where I didn't a disposition that I couldn't like feasibly hide the Stormlord against long range shooting
Hmm.
or medium to long range shooting. So things like I didn't really want to play Grand Coven T-Suns
Hmm.
just because like just because in the priority mirror, there's my best map still has a very long, thin line almost across the whole map of where the Stormlord can go, and they can just line up Magnus and 10 Terminators, and the Stormlord goes away.
Yeah.
Like doesn't doesn't really that's not great. Um, again, like I can mitigate that by putting models in the way so like the Terminators don't get rapid fire and like Magnus is swingy on his best days,
Yeah.
which means there is the possibility that he just bounces and I will pick up Magnus no problem.
Yeah.
Um,
But you don't want to
even
opt into that variance when you have something
yeah,
else you could beat. Yeah.
exactly. Um, After that, the Custodes matchup is very kind of like volatile. Like
Hmm.
I was happy to play it because no one else on the team wanted to play it.
Yeah.
But it is very volatile because like the Alaris are so efficient into everything in my army. Like
Yes.
absolutely everything. Like perfectly efficient. Um, so that means like that just means like it's always going to be kind of like volatile.
Yeah.
So if like they weren't had any if they didn't have anything else, it wasn't the end. That doesn't really have the long range shooting. But then kind of like there's no way I'm pushing any diff into like AdMech on priority assets either.
Yeah.
And I normally have to keep a bunch of stuff in my deployment zone, which isn't good if they're playing like Rad Zone. Um
Yeah. The Enginseer gone in 2 turns. My
Yeah,
bad,
yeah.
I
Well,
guess.
first time I played him, he died for turn. He died before the game started.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So um, shit
Yeah.
happens.
Fair enough.
So stuff like that is kind of like is a little bit more difficult. I didn't. I like equatorial orcs is always going to be like, did you win the go first roll? I
Yes.
can 100 play that matchup if I go first. If I go second, it is the biggest crapshoot
Yeah.
that runs. But I think that's most people into equatorial orcs. Like it's just, I guess you can map pick backboard edge, but
It's
they
not
roll 2 6s on their advance, and
they're still in your face anyway.
you're still like
Yeah.
yeah, it's still not great.
So it feels like you don't really have that many things that you're not thrilled about playing, while on your map pick, right? Because it's, a
Yeah,
couple of
exactly.
things that, I imagine, something like an Iron Storm on certain kinds of maps you don't really want to play because you just can't hide the Stormlord, and who knows who went first, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
yeah,
but in most cases, like in most cases, there's one map for each disposition where you can deploy it, and there is one line, but often it often it means your opponent is just deploying to go first,
yeah,
and if they go second, they just lose.
sure, yeah,
Or if they undercommit, then they just lose, which happened my first like Emperor's Children game
hmm,
um, against Poland. Was he slitted like it was a take and hold map. It was the Dawn of War setup.
hmm,
So there's a firing lane basically from his home objective down along a line, but then you're sitting on your home objective, and I don't know if you know about mechanized, but full rerolls to hit, full rerolls to wound on something on an objective are real good.
oh yeah,
Um, so he put a defiler on his home objective, shot the Stormlord, did I think 10 damage. I
sounds
was
about
like,
right. Yeah.
cool. I repair 3, brought the Stormlord out because that was his only shooting, and then
Mhm.
the Stormlord and Yarrick squad, without even shooting Grave squad, picked up the defiler and most of the demonettes on his home objective.
Yeah, yeah,
And then I went, this game is mine.
yeah. I mean, it sounds good. It definitely feels like this has a lot of play in teams for sure. Obviously, you did quite well with it.
Yeah.
Then the question will simply become, can it play singles when it doesn't have access to that? It feels like no matter what, you will always have the option of flipping the go first roll.
Yeah, 100%. There's also kind of like there's some maps where you kind of have to kind of like take the Stormlord and he has to go on a windy adventure to get kind of like where he wants. There is also kind of like moments where he's just like you're just gonna like low roll like same thing in my Custodes games. Like he shot, I think he handed me 8 of the AP1 damage to bolter saves before
Hmm.
he tried to charge it, and I think I failed 6 of them
Oops.
on 3 ups, and it's just like, well, okay, well,
Fair
this
enough.
isn't that's not great, or something like that. It was just a little bit too much chip damage, right? And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just makes it because it is tough because I don't like I at least before I didn't really like playing armies where it was kind of like you had one loss condition, and your
yeah,
loss condition is losing this big guy too early, and in some matchups you will. You just have to put yourself in the best position to kind of like that not to happen, or uh, know I did my very best in knowing which armies were much more efficient at taking him out than the other ones, and EC was one of them that wasn't at all.
yeah. Especially if they
Because
have
I
the
could,
autocannons, they just, you know,
yeah, because it's like the thing is a lot of people will be like, yeah, it averages like, it averages like something like that 9, 10 damage. I'm like, yeah, until you just like CP reroll one of the damage 3 AP1 that you fail,
yeah.
and then you're more likely not going to make them. And if they don't roll dev wounds, and in my second EC game, I even like overwatched 10 minutes basically out of buff range for one of the defilers. And then you just like your efficiency just drops.
That's really funny. That's not something I had
Yeah.
really thought about, but yeah, that's definitely something you could do if you have those good overwatches.
Yeah.
With that,
Or no, he ended up being able to put it back because he pulled himself out and he's like, that was dumb. And I was like, it's okay.
but
Put him back.
keep the right one there. You're good.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
both know
But
what's
then
happening.
but then, like you in the recon matchup, you can put the Stormlord behind the middle objective
Hmm.
and ring Yarrick out. So if they touch the middle objective, they proc Yarrick's bubble while still
Mm,
being wholly within 6.
yeah,
So then you've now made it so that they can't really charge
yeah,
like anything. And then if they do get a charge, then you blow up whatever they're in combat with and they're just not moving.
yeah,
So you have to like they have to full send their whole army at you and they get nothing.
yeah.
Or they get 10 engineers or 5 scions or whatever. It was the in my last game in the Tyranid game, it was that yeah, on 3, 4, 3. He basically dropped his entire Tyranid army and I tagged all of it with Scions because he crashed Yarrick's bubble and everything chings, and then he shot with the prime, and I just left single models in contact with everything, and then blew them all out of combat.
Feels good,
And
doesn't
then
it?
that unit died, and then the Stormlord came out, and an entire Tyranid army basically disappeared in a turn.
Yeah.
The same thing with my EC game. It's like the thing is that a lot of what ends up happening is a lot of people are kind of like if you're playing like little units, you have to do like damage by committee. This list is not that type of card. Like the Yarrick brick with Nork and Graves brick plus the Stormlord. I think in the my Belgium EC game, uh, those 3 units killed uh, 10 Marines, 10 Noise Marines, 2 Lords, 30 Demonettes, a Defiler, and left the other Defiler on 4.
Yeah, sounds about right. Like you just have a couple units, but it is also like this is like 1,000 points of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You
But
know,
it will kill almost 2,000 points of stuff if you get all the ranges and the
yeah,
buffs and everything lined up.
absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about a couple things. One, I'd love to hear a little bit more about how Nathan Princey on the Custodes actually solved the puzzle, right? We talked a little bit about it. And then the
Yeah.
other one that I want to find is a game where your opponent tried to solve the puzzle box and just didn't. Some of the regs that they stepped on along the way. So let's go ahead and
Yeah.
start with the Nathan Princey game a little bit. You said that it came down to him making a couple of these long charges.
Yeah, so he got the advantage on going first. So if you go first in the matchup, he can hold his rapid ingress for my bottom of 3
Hmm.
rather than my top of 3, and that was basically the difference in the game because I had been playing against Custodes, but I hadn't played his list, which has 6 Venatari,
Hmm.
which means he can double rapid ingress and he just holds the double rapid ingress. So basically, it meant I had to come out on my turn 1 to screen a rapid, and then he just held.
Mhm.
Because on my turn 2, uh, he was just like, no, I'm gonna just hold clear and rapid on 3, which gave him the Venatari were able to kind of got clear enough screens that with their movement, they got a relatively reasonable charge.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like how you have to play it. And Custodies are really good at that because on turn 1, he splits one of the Alaris into 5 squads. And one Alaris is very annoying. I basically have to trade a unit to kill one Alaris.
Yeah.
And so that just makes it efficient, and I need to stop it because if he rapid ingrests 5 Terminators and 6 Venatari and has a bike squad come out, like those 3 units will kill my entire army by themselves.
Yeah.
So that's basically kind of like what he did. And like I said, I was 1 Custody bike, 1 wound away. And I think I needed to like hold CP better, just to give myself like more options. Like I don't know if I could have thrown a grenade. I don't think so because I had to move them. That's the other one of the things in the list is the mechanized strat to move after. So
Mhm.
it allows you to move the Stormlord, deploy Yarrick, and then move the bubble out.
Mhm.
Um, so I rolled a little small on that, and I think uh, just where he had placed things, I don't think I could get enough weapons like within 12 to spend the 2 CP on firing hot on them.
Mhm.
Um, so but like that's kind of like what you have to do is you have to not proc Yarrick's bubble and just roll basically like and be fast enough to kind of like go around the bubble and not give yourself 9-inch charges.
Yeah.
Um, those are a few things. Like the bikes and the Venatari were fast enough that they could jump the bubble and get closer to the Stormlord, whereas a lot of armies like without that move don't quite do that. Um, and then you need to hit your 7 and 8 inch charges, which he did.
Yeah.
Because if he failed, like I said, if he fails either of them, he doesn't break the box.
Yeah, absolutely. I also know, like, I've looked at the math, like, it's 6 Alaris Custodians in Lions with the +1 to wound. You know, they do 22 damage on average. So
Yeah,
it's like right on that lip
yeah,
of
yeah,
like, do they actually get there? So yeah, it makes sense. If you have enough like efficient trading tools with like each individual Alaris, and then you also have the double rapid ingress, which is a huge threat. It's kind of like we were saying, it's like one of those the first time you play against it, you might not know what you're doing. So
yeah.
definitely two couple of very tricky armies. But what's about a game where someone stepped on a lot of the rakes along the way?
So my basically the Belgium EC
Mhm.
game. No, the most rakes was the Tyranid game. Like
Okay.
it normally like the sub assault list is like is really tough for guard to deal with
Mhm.
because multiple 6-inch deep striking things with charging and like touching things is really tough. And uh, I was just playing as I same thing, like here's my stuff, here's my screens, and like at some point you have to pick everything up and drop it down and try something.
Mhm.
And that was it. Is basically the Stormlord came out, Yarrick, and I had ingressed the 5+5 Scions to hold the middle for hold. And then I just strung them out in front of Yarrick. And when he went into his movement phase, I was started putting up 8-inch. I tried to put up 8-inch bubbles on Yarrick as I'm like, here, don't, proc him.
Stay
He's
out
like,
of
no,
this.
no,
Yeah.
no. I'm going in and just goes in. I'm like, whoa, 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 okay. Before you go in, just I just want to let you know. He's like, yeah, yeah, I have to do it. Like, I have to. And it's like, it's still it's kind of like the right move. Um, it's tough to say whether it's the right move or not. It still cost me doing the action, so it was
Mhm.
probably the right move on that. But it cost me doing the action because what the unit that was like protecting the middle like just got to be able to screen out the Aquilons from dropping on it to do the action, and like
Cool.
it could be a difference of like half an inch, right? So it's tough. So then, yeah, so it was Hyperactive, Trigon, Old One Eye, one Tyranid Prime, and 10 Hormagaunts, another Hyperadaptive, and they all broke. Basically, almost all of them broke the Yarrick bubble. They all got within 2 inches of Yarrick. I rolled a charge on the Scions. I rolled a 10. I touched every single one of them. Yarrick went back in the box. And then he shot with the Trigon Prime, pulled models, bombed myself. Only the officer was left. Everybody was outside of 5 of something, so they just stood there. And then Graves and Yarrick came out with the Stormlord, and all of that disappeared the following turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. That is a pretty darn big rake. How was the rest of WTC? I mean, obviously, everybody talks about it as one of like the main events where you can go really interact with the community. How was your experience
Yeah,
this year?
it was great. I had 7 awesome games. Despite what my team said, I think I made some friends.
It's
I
good.
also made people lose some hair, but that's two things. I was really happy after when I got my second EC matchup. I'm like people still have no idea what the hell is going on, um, and it was a lot of fun to see a whole lot of people kind of like playing all these different things, having an idea of kind of like how matchups work. And the best thing is, every time at the start of like WTC, or the start of after lists were open and everybody saw what everyone was talking, just in my back of my head, I'm like, no one has any idea what the hell they're talking about. Like, you've played whatever, you played, even like the people who played a huge amount of games, like 100 games, right? Like,
I haven't played against
you
this
played
one.
you haven't played against this one, you haven't played against that one.
Yeah.
Like, disposition matchups, yeah, you probably have like a handle on like what you need to do, but like, what happens if a completely different army archetype comes in and plays the same like that disposition against you? And a lot of people were saying, like, this disposition's favored against this disposition, and I'm like, yes, it depend again, it depends on like what type of thing you're playing. And I found a lot of fun like listening to people talk about it, because like every day at WCC I'd hear people say like take and hold is favored against this, and then I'd walk by another pod and the person was saying the exact opposite. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, no, nobody really knows what's going on.
No.
Yeah, it's
There's
super
too
fun.
many there's too many permutations. There's too many trying to understand how like the game and the tempo works. So like listening to everybody's um kind of thoughts and
Yeah.
ideas behind it was great. And then, seeing people that I had played like last year, catching up how they were doing, seeing what they were playing, it was really good.
Yeah.
We ever got to show an entire Discord that Gustavo's a giant chicken, so that's really nice. I very much enjoyed that. Like, we had this weeks of build up,
And
and
it
I
didn't
went down as
happen.
I went down as first defender. I looked at him. I was like, "Let's play," and he's like, "No." So
No, I gotta go play that orc player over there. I need to go play the
that's right.
green mirror.
Yeah. All right. Sure. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was funny. Yeah.
We tried. We set it up. We did everything. I
Yeah.
told him we were going to do it, and nothing. So it
That's funny.
was a highlight.
I
Highlight.
I am a little bit curious as well, because one of the funniest stories I heard about the USA side was that there were like 3 demons players in a row during the main WTC, because Folger like ran through a bunch of demons during War Master, get to WTC, and I think it was like the German and then the French, and there was one other demons player who was like, "Look, I know Folger has beaten all these other demons players, but I'm different." And none of them were.
No.
I was curious. Did you hear any of that, like about your army, where someone was like, this previous easy player, he thought he had it, but he didn't figure it out. But I've got it. I know what's up.
I didn't hear what the Belgians were saying. I
Mm.
don't know if they saw the Poland result, but
Hmm.
like, um, after the match, he was definitely like, "I don't think this is that bad for me." I was like,
If you say so.
I'm not gonna tell you otherwise, right?" Like, he activated his first defiler and it did 3 damage to the Stormlord. He's like, "That's not right." I'm like, "I don't know. Every time I've played this matchup, every defiler does like between 6 and like 10 damage, and sometimes I just get a CP roll to 3, and
Yeah.
like, that's not normal because like the average, like he shot, I think also like noise marines, like the blastmasters, like on average do 0 damage ish, right?
Yep.
Like it's just like you're just you're exposing to gamble, and you're
Yeah.
not like the thing is like the Stormlord living on 2 will just get 40 Scion, or you get both squads out and they still get all their buffs.
Yeah.
And I don't really need the Stormlord to do anything. I just need it to basically protect and make it sure that the Scions aren't like one and done. Because that's like the big thing that Guard has a problem with because of the points right now is before you could just be like, here's a unit, I know it's going to die, this is fine, it does its job and it goes.
Mhm.
And we just don't quite have enough stuff to do that efficiently anymore. So as if I got to recycle kind of like activating Yarrick's unit, like in most games, honestly, it was like 3-4 times. Like
Yeah, if I got
gravy.
I used to tell people when we were playing like Index and like early Codex Bridgehead is like, look, I'm going to use all these lines once. If I only use all of them once, you probably win. If I get to use one of them twice,
Yeah.
it's a game. If I get to use any of them 3 times, I win. And there's like not
Yeah.
really a conversation to be had here. So like
Yeah.
having that, being able to do that again feels really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt very much kind of like that same type of kind of it felt really, really good to have just point, click, dead.
Yeah.
Because normally I would be like, in the end of 10th, it was, work very hard and kill, defilers with pocket sand,
Yeah.
right? And now it's just kind of like, now it's kind of point, click, dead. All right, move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And it also helps a lot with the problem that Guard has in 11th with just having their little units getting Overwatch to death. Like, this is fine. You kill 6. That's fine. I pull all the plasma guns, and Nork and Yarrick will still shoot you, and
And I'll
I'll
still get
regen
them
a
back
few,
in the truck. It's okay.
and they'll get back in the truck. They won't take up as much space as I want, but that's fine. It's
Yeah.
not the end of the world. Um, and they probably killed what Overwatched them. Whereas in the early times of 11th, it was very much kind of like I'd go out and I'd lose the unit completely to like Overwatch, or I'd just be like, there's just this one Melta gun, and like one Melta gun isn't enough, and I can't grenade then full rerolls anymore, so I can't make one unit super efficient. So it's just kind of like finding another balance. It felt like Bridgehead, but you were very confined to the space where you could drop.
Yeah. I like it. All right, so let's go ahead. We're gonna start wrapping up here. I got a couple questions. Obviously, we have an expected data slate coming out on Wednesday. What are you hoping to see in that? It could be about Guard. It could be about the game in general.
Uh, let's see. I don't know. I think Guard honestly is going to be tough to balance. I feel like we're going to. This is not necessarily what I want. But I feel like we're just going to get kind of like the you know half our units are going to go down by like 5 points.
I'm okay with that. That helps.
Yeah, that helps a lot. But like, I'm exaggerating for half. But
Yeah.
and I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of like rules change. I really did like combined going to two DP.
Mhm.
I was already pretty much locked in on. Uh, I was definitely 100% locked in on what I was taking when the other one came out. But I was like, combined with two DP, recycle a unit. You can still have either like Bridgehead or Recon. I think is or a Bridgehead or Designation Force.
Mhm.
Very cool. Um, so what I would like to see is probably just, yeah, honestly, just kind of like just enough points down that you can start taking kind of like, if people want to take, I don't know, it would be great for until the codex comes out to just see lists that are like 6 tanks and, 80 guardsmen, and
That'd be great.
just that would be I think that would be awesome. So if you can get just enough points so that you can take kind of like those old school old school archetypes, I think would be very cool. And then the people who want to play crazy Baneblade stuff can still play crazy Baneblade stuff, and they don't get too much trash.
Yeah.
Uh, but like just enough that you can like play the game. You kill the thing that like runs at you hopefully, and you can just, you just cross your fingers.
Yeah.
I think
Now,
that would be nice.
I do have to ask because obviously right now there's a lot of discourse going on in my Discord about people have been calling it the croissant or the French list, right? With the
Yeah,
Bane Sword, Storm Sword,
the
and then
petit
stuff.
déjeuner. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that list? Because I played it like I've done it in like a singles environment
yeah.
and I've deployed a bunch. I probably played like 20 turn ones and like 4 turn 5s, right? Just because it's like, oh, one of us went first. Cool. One of us just killed the other. You couldn't hide your Defiler. I couldn't hide my Storm Sword. Which one of them
Yeah.
got to shoot first? And so I'm curious what your thoughts have been just like, thinking about it a little bit.
I played it a little bit, but it was very kind of like feast or famine to
Mhm.
be, and I don't think it's bad or wrong or anything. I think it's the same type of thing where in like 10th where someone would tell me like Recon's really cool. I'm like, yes, just not for me.
Totally fair.
It's it's really good. Like, and I will play it against people who ask me for a rep into it, and I will be like, I'm probably not doing this justice, but I will do the best I can.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it was just kind of like I felt it just was short on stuff
Yeah.
for me, um, and it was short on. Uh, I found it gave a little bit too much. It gave a little bit of agency, a little bit more agency to my opponents than I was used to playing. I think now, after playing like this list, it was like I basically most of my games, I was like, this is my part of the board. You can have the rest. I don't care. Right.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna score all my
now
primary with this little triangle and we're good.
that's right.
Yeah.
My whole concept of board control has gone out the window from 10th to 11th.
Yeah.
So I think probably coming back to it, I would be a little bit more comfortable with it. But it does like shoot ridiculously hard, like
It does do that.
ridiculously hard. I think what I don't, I think the first time, second game I played with some semblance of that list, I think the Bane Sword like one tapped a Satan, and I was like, "What is this? Never had this feeling before in my life."
So powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this doesn't make any sense. I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Um, so it's definitely like if you like it, and like I know Nico like loves it. He's having a blast playing it, and so if you have a blast playing it, all the more to you. It's a different archetype to play, and like
Mhm.
it's a lot of fun. And I think wasn't there like 3 dozen people that were asking for Baneblades to be competitive in 10th, and then
Probably.
they've all disappeared now. Like
Come on, this is our time.
yeah, exactly. Like you asked for this. It's like, no, not like this. It's like,
How else
okay,
did you want
yeah, I
it?
don't understand.
Yeah.
Um, so like I think there's lots of it. I think, there's you're like unless like the rules change or the codex changes something, like the way I had to have my funeral for the style of guard that I played in 10th.
Yeah.
It's not right now it's not coming back because the missions don't let you do it. It doesn't do anything. But at the same time, like I played a couple games with a list that was a little more similar to like Skark's list.
Mhm.
And like that felt a lot more like 10th
Felt
because
more
it was just
familiar,
kind
I
of
felt, yeah.
yeah. And so I was like, oh, this could be cool. Like, mechanized bridgehead, a bunch of little guys in little boxes running around. I'm like, that sounds a lot like me. This is cool. This works. We
Something
can play this.
something to play a little
Yeah,
bit later on, yeah. Um,
exactly.
we've already gotten past the hour here a little bit, John. I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time, but before I let you
Yeah.
go, any shout outs you'd like to give and any hot takes you'd like to leave us with?
Um, I think the minute they get kind of like the top of the top armies kind of like simmered down a little bit, um, I think guard will be just fine. I don't think we're going to be in a position. I don't think we're going to be in the same position we were in 10th because 10th we were pretty much always able to basically we were strong enough that you could bring something that you really liked and always have a chance at winning a GT. And now it's going to be you're going to have to bring a little bit more tuned list, but I think we're not that bad of a spot. We're just kind of like in a position where I think you have to bring certain specific things, and I don't think it's always like frustrating to not be able to just be like, can't I just play 100 guardsmen and 6 tanks? Because like that should just be good.
Yeah,
So
and
I
it's
think as
not.
long as and it's not.
Yeah,
And I think if we can get to a point where we get just enough like points cuts and you can take kind of like that, I think a lot of like the guard community will be very happy. I will also be happy because I love seeing those lists where
yeah,
it's just kind of like I have some locals that are very much kind of, they play those style of lists and they're super happy when they're good. And I think if they get to a point where they're like, you know yeah, you might lose some games, but you always feel like you're in the game.
yeah.
And I think that's, as long as we get enough points for to feel like you're in the game, I think that's great. Or you can play a puzzle box and make no friends, um, however you want to do it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
Well, there you
yeah.
have it, folks. If you want to make no friends, just play John Winter Russell style of guard. It's been a great time. It's always a pleasure having you on. For anybody who is still watching at this point, if you have more questions for John, leave them down in the comments below. Also, he is reasonably active in my Discord, so you can come hit him up with questions
Yeah,
there
that would
as well.
be a better place because I will forget to check YouTube comments. But
Fair enough.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll answer more pointed questions
Yeah.
in the Discord. I just didn't want to answer the same question
Absolutely. I think in
9 times.
general, for anybody who is watching, if you want to ask someone questions, the best questions to ask are like pretty specific ones because we can be like, it's like this. Because oftentimes it's like, how do you play this list? It's like, well, it depends. Here's like, I
Yeah,
could give you an essay, but I don't really want to.
yeah, because then there's way too much there's way too much details going back into like
Yeah.
when you start nobody in the Stormlord, when you start everybody in the Stormlord, uh when you start just engineers, when you don't.
Yeah.
I haven't come across a match yet where I don't start the 5+5 plus the Aquilons in Deep Strike, but I'm sure there might be one. You never know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of like there's a lot of stuff, and if you haven't like physically put a Baneblade on one of the new GW tables,
Try
you should
it.
you should do that before doing anything because it's wild sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you forget like toe-ins and stuff like this, and there's like disruption matchups where you're just kind of like the two ruins aren't actually together, so you can touch this one and your shooting lane goes down this way and you can't be shot along the other one,
Mhm.
which means you have to go to the other side of the ruin to be able to see it. So you can basically like cover an entire half a table with like a Stormlord shooting lane or a Baneblade shooting lane and be perfectly safe on the other one.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like put things on the table. They're like you you'll you see things and you're like, holy cow, this is weird and crazy and fun. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Well, perfect. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode with John Winter Russell. I have been Joshua Howard, and we'll see you guys all next time. Bye bye.
Bye.